Welcome to the Group Dentistry Now show, the voice of the DSO industry. Kim Larson and Bill Neumann talk to industry leaders about their challenges, successes, and the future of group dentistry. Visit groupdentistrynow.com for more DSO analysis, news, and events. Looking for a job or have a job to fill? Visit joindso.com. We hope you enjoy today's show.
Hey, I'd like to welcome everyone to the Group Dentistry Now show. I'm Bill Neumann, and as always, we really appreciate everybody listening in, whether it's on Spotify or Apple or Google or watching us on YouTube or somehow finding us through search and ending up at groupdentistrynow.com. We appreciate the listeners and the viewers. Without you, we wouldn't have a show, and of course, without great guests, we wouldn't have any viewers. So I'm really excited to introduce two wonderful guests here today. We have Maria Fuertes. She is the director of the Practice Heroes program at Carestack. So first off, Maria, welcome to the Group Dentistry Now show.
Thanks so much, Bill. Thanks for having me.
We have
and us.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, us, exactly right. And we don't want to forget about Alicia Gerard. She is with Wasatch Dental, I think I got that right, outside of Salt Lake City, Utah, and she is an office manager there. Welcome, Alicia.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
This is gonna be a great conversation here. And what I don't want to do is I don't want to forget the backgrounds of both these ladies. So let's talk a little bit about what they've done. We'll talk a little bit about Maria's background. She's going to fill in any of the blanks. She has 23 years in the DSO industry. She has so much time in the industry. It wasn't the DSO industry back when she started. It was the group practice industry. So she worked at various DSOs and group practices, started out at Western Dental and Orthodontics. And then she spent some time over at American Dental Partners in various operational roles. And then she was at a startup dental group practice in Massachusetts. And she did all sorts of things there, from operations to strategy and different campaigns. And now she's at Carestack. And while she was at the startup in Mass, that's where she really found out about Carestack and made that transition. So Maria, I'm going to kind of let you, there's a lot of blanks to fill in there, and I don't want to mess anything up. So I'm going to let you fill them in.
Okay, well, thank you for that, Bill. I've been in the dental industry, and it's the industry that has fueled my passion today. Like as Bill said, I began at Western Dental Orthodontics, managing the de novos, progressing to managing multiple locations. I started out as a manager, guys. I was the manager, biller, and receptionist. At times, the sterilization tech, it was like drinking from a water hose, especially coming from retail, the Disney stores. So moving forward, I was an operational leader at Riverside Dental Group, which is an affiliate of American Dental Partners, and that's where I led the orthodontic business of the group. I then grew to manage a 28 operatory practice, as well as managing the entire specialty part of the business. So at Riverside, I was there for 16 years. And that is where I really honed my skills as a business strategist and leader. I had formal training at American Dental Partners through their consistent coaching for managers, peer review, and I attended their Leadership Institute for 5 years. So as I left Riverside, I grew revenue, the specialty part of the business especially, at 49%. And we did that organically as an operational leader. We were formally trained to read financial statements, and we're going to talk about data today. So that's part of that. We grew the business through data, which helped us fine-tune patient care, improved our AR, and increased revenue. And, as a leader, we were always looking for areas of opportunity. Moving forward, I went, moved from West Coast to East Coast to New England Management Services as Director of Operations there, overseeing 6 practices, then quickly grew to 11 within a year and a half, integrating 5 practices. And that's where I came across Carestack, because at that time we had different softwares and we wanted to go cloud-based. So that's basically my experience in a nutshell. There's a lot of stuff in there that I can tell you that I have been grateful to have been in those positions, which grew me to the passionate leader that I am today, and helping others, sharing my knowledge, especially through Carestack, through the Practice Heroes program.
Excellent. Yeah, a lot of great experience, a lot of varied experience for sure. from Western Dental, when you were there, what, as far as number of locations, can you talk a little bit about that? I mean, they're pretty massive
Sure.
now.
Yeah, sure. I actually started their de novo for orthodontia in an office. I think Western Dental at that time was kind of forward with respect to hiring retail leaders or retail managers as well. I was at Disney stores and wanting to try something totally different because I always loved helping people, and saw an ad in the paper. That's when people looked in the paper back then. And I thought it was very innovative of them to be forward in hiring people in the retail leadership role, because we had a lot of operational background, if you will, already instilled in us. Taking that sales process and ensuring about the customer experience in Disney, then transferring that to the patient experience at Western Dental. So it was like a win-win for me. I started out overseeing a de novo practice for them, moved to another practice, if you will, that was already static. I was always the one that they actually went to take a clinic or practice, if you will, and take it from where it's struggling and turning it around. And that point in time, then I was overseeing 2 practices. And then I was asked to take this one practice that I had met the orthodontist who recruited me to go to American Dental Partners with him, where I grew his orthodontic business, if you will. So that's where I started in Western.
Excellent, great stuff. So let's move on to Alicia Gerrard. So Alicia, again, is, and we were talking a little bit about this before we started the record. She's technically the office manager there, but as we know, that can mean a lot of different things, right? So she has 11 years of dental industry experience, and she started her career as a dental assistant, and then worked her way out of clinical and then up to office manager. And when she made that transition, she actually earned her master's degree in healthcare administration. So love to talk a little bit about, why you decided to make the move from clinical to business. And then from there, why did you decide to get your master's?
It's actually a very interesting story. It's not what I had planned. So I'm 18. I don't know what I want to do with my life. My friend's a dental assistant. She's like, you should be a dental assistant. I'm like, okay. Found a program, 10 weeks, did my training, became a dental assistant. I was with my first dental office for just a few months. And then I actually met a doctor who worked at that office who was in the middle of buying a practice. So I chose to take that route. He bought the practice and I just started as his lead dental assistant. And slowly, I stayed with him for about 5 years. Slowly over that whole 5-year course, I just kind of went a little bit more into the front office space, but I was always still just the dental assistant. But they started having me do insurances and scheduling and, all the good front office type of work. Then I had decided to go back to college, and I was going to either do dental hygiene. And then I decided to do radiology tech. So I actually, at this point, they couldn't give me part-time hours. So I transitioned to another dental office, very similar, single doctor, small practice. And I was their part-time front desk person. And I mostly dealt with a lot of the insurance. So my official title was insurance coordinator at that time, while I was going to school. So I did all my prereqs. I got into the radiology tech program. I was just weeks of starting. And the current office manager at my office, she had to go to a different place. And so my boss calls me and he's like, hey, do you want the role? You're clearly good at what you do. And I was like, let me think about that. Let me get back to you, because that changed my entire outlook on what my career would look like. I was actually in the process of training at another job so that I could leave the dental office, leave dental altogether, and have a night and weekend job. Because when you're a radiology tech and you're in school, you're working at a hospital doing all your clinical hours, just like a nursing student. So you're busy Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. You can't hold a normal job. So I talked it over with my now husband, then boyfriend, and I decided to take the position. So immediately within a few days, I was the office manager. I went to my college advisor and I was thinking, well, I guess there's business school, you know, I don't want to have done all this school for nothing. I was just a few credits shy of my associates. So I just kind of said, well, maybe I'll just do my bachelor's in business. That's always a good, you know, safe middle ground. And they said, oh, have you actually ever heard of healthcare administration? And I was like, no, what's that? Never knew how much administrative personnel there was in the medical field. So I ended up transitioning and I got my bachelor's in healthcare administration. And then by some of my professors, I was pushed to get my master's. So then I got into the master's program, did that. And I did that at the same time as I was doing full-time office managing. So it was a very, very busy few years, but very well worth it. And then I thought I would jump ship and go straight to hospital when I graduated. I actually graduated the month after COVID became a thing. So due to the pandemic, it kind of derailed my plans. There was no healthcare job openings for administrators or managers because everyone was scrambling around trying to figure out this whole COVID thing. And there was such a big focus on COVID testing and vaccines and all of that. So I just kind of stuck it out, stayed at the dental office. And then I was introduced to Maria through Carestack because we had just recently transitioned from our legacy software to Carestack about an opportunity to be able to help them in their Practice Heroes program, which we'll talk about in detail a little bit later. So that's how I am where I am now. It's a strange, weird thing of events, but I feel like that's a lot of people's stories.
Yep. Yeah. Certainly in dental. Yeah, that's a great point. Unless you're somehow related to a dentist, you know, normally think about the industry, right? It's somewhere you go to get your teeth cleaned, and hopefully that's all you do there.
Yeah.
But let's talk. I think I'll ask Maria this question, and Alicia, you know, certainly, you know, comment on this. But with both your experience in the dental industry, and then Maria, yours in the DSO, the group space, let's talk a little bit about just experiences and maybe, you know, just kind of some head scratching moments.
Well, one thing I can say, Bill, is that I've worked in dental organizations on both coasts, East and West, and I have experienced many head scratching moments. However, I'm taking those to the grave. But in my experience in both coasts, there are several things that I want to just talk about high level. That seems to be a constant. It's a symptom of doctor leaders that are reluctant to be the leader. They're reluctant to make important decisions or would rather have other leadership partners to make decisions for them and deliver the message to the rest of the practice organization. I've seen it where they don't want to step into clinical leader shoes to do the work, to be present and engage with the practice and organization for the good of the whole, if you will. This creates challenges in cultural alignment, which is bad for business. And then something else that I have experienced throughout my career in this space is that dental practices don't see their dental practice management software as their business intelligence. I mean, they only use their dental software at surface level, scheduling, treating, and billing. You know, done right, your software is your competitive edge, not a necessary evil. It can truly be a game changer. And as we know, data, this is intelligent data, not data for the sake of data, because that serves no purpose. But your dental practice management software is creating opportunities for revenue growth, clarity, better decisions, and insights for you and your staff.
I think that's a great point. And I know, Alicia, you kind of have your background. You have had the paper charts, right? And then you transitioned over from paper to almost the legacy practice management software, and then to cloud-based. So, you know, you certainly have experience there. Let's talk a little bit about, you know, what is 100% cloud-based software like Carestack? What does that mean, and why is that so important?
I mean, definitely Carestack is a powerful practice management software. We have features that are built in to ensure you have everything you need to manage day-to-day operations of your organization. which is scheduling, charting, and billing. But there are features that are built in that takes the place of other third-party apps like patient engagement, text to patients, online scheduling forms, text to pay, check-in kiosks, curbside check-in. I mean, on-demand education, business analytics, and teledentistry. All of this is in the cloud. So that is what a cloud-based management software defined.
And, I mean, that's something I'd love to talk a little bit more about, and maybe talk a little bit about the, the client user interface. And Maria, you can certainly talk about that, and Alicia as well. But yeah, I'm kind of curious you mentioned it earlier. So practice management software, you use it at surface level, or I would say a lot of groups and a lot of practices do. And that's it. So they're not taking it, they're taking advantage of 10% of maybe what the potential is. And you mentioned it being the competitive edge, probably not really being used by the majority of groups and the majority of practices out there.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that, and then I'd love to, just kind of hear that perspective.
Well, I want to say that our software is definitely different from other cloud-based software. I mean, I've touched base on the built-in features, but there are several areas that sets us apart from all other cloud-based and legacy software. I think that DSOs and MSOs and group practices can scale easily with Carestack. I know because I was a former client of theirs as well. You develop efficiencies while using the software, and we have components and features in Carestack that can help you optimize your day-to-day tasks and operations. Of course, there is heavy lifting in the front, but when you go through implementation, we help you through that. We also make users efficient, getting more done with less clicks. I mean, gone are the days of, Alicia, you can talk about this after I ask you this question, but you don't have to download any paper forms, if you will, like downloading the schedules or the routing slips, if you will, and getting yourself prepared for the next day. So, there's efficiency that you learned every day, and you learn how to optimize your day-to-day tasks while using the software. We also have out-of-the-box reporting that is pretty robust. We've had finance teams and DSO group practices that they were able to identify right away the reports that were useful for them. I didn't need to know how to use SQL to basically conform my own report to churn out numbers, if you will, so we can gauge and measure how we're performing, right? We also empower users with data. Our clients can use data for making wrong choices. And, I'm all about KPIs and analytics and the data that comes out of our software. We also give control to users where we keep our features configurable to user preferences. Clients like to stick to their workflows that are working for them. At times, Carestack can supercharge them too. And then also through the implementation process, which we'll touch base on, they also find that suddenly their workflows kind of look antiquated because now you're working in Carestack. I tend to use the analogy of like, okay, I drive a Subaru. There's nothing about Subarus, but it's almost like getting another higher level of a Tesla, if you will. And of course, I think what sets us apart is we have the Practice Heroes program, and our clients receive a white glove treatment throughout their implementation journey. And, Alicia, coming from a client user interface, how's it different from legacy softwares you've used in the past?
Yeah, so there's a million things I could say about how awesome Carestack is, but I've got 2 points that I really want to just hit home on. One is that Carestack is just super innovative. Most other softwares, like we talked about before, they're very surface level. They just do the basics. They help get you by. They basically just help you transition everything you did on paper to a computer. End of story. In some other legacy softwares, I feel like they're starting to want to become more than that. So they're really good at talking the talk, but I don't feel like they're good at walking the walk. And Carestack does talk the talk as well as walk the walk in terms of keeping up with the times and pushing out updates that actually make sense, not just fixing something on the back end and you have no idea what that update even did for you. Prior to Carestack, I came from a legacy software And even when I go into it now, because I still have it on my computer, it just feels like a dinosaur software. It feels like we're still stuck back in like 1995. Every time I go look at that software, they just really haven't progressed and grown with the industry. DSOs are such a newer thing, but they're going to be the new thing, more so than, the private practices of what dentistry has been for the past, X amount of years. And we need a software to conform to that. And Carestack is so innovative that I feel like they're just the answer to be able to keep up with the times. They do listen to their clients. Like Maria said, they actually do help you along the way. You don't just buy software and they just say, here's a manual, good luck, see you later. They help you every step of the way. Their implementation process, their training process, the resources they have, all of it is very rigorous because they want you to succeed and be able to use the software to the ability that it was built for. One thing that I really, really love about Carestack is they actually listen to their users, their clients, in terms of, what somebody wants to see, how this would make my life easier. They're constantly pushing updates out that are actually practical updates that is going to make your life a lot easier. And just a quick example of that, COVID happened, the whole world shut down, and then we were slowly opening back up. And what did everybody do? They started doing curbside pickup. They started doing curbside check-in. No longer are the days where you just walk into a place free for all and just do what you're there to do. And Carestack pushed out an update immediately called curbside check-in. And that was specifically from COVID. And so that's just one great example of how quick and on the ball that they are with being innovative and making sure they're up with the times, because they truly do want their clients to succeed. And I just have never seen that in a different software. Point number 2 is Carestack is truly a one-stop shop. I was able to not only just replace my legacy software, but of course, because legacy softwares really aren't up with the times, we always have all these add-on softwares that we pick because we want to text our patients. We want to push out reviews automatically. We want to be able to send claims electronically. So we have to subscribe to 5 or 10 different programs to do what Carestack does. So that was actually my biggest push of why my office went to Carestack. I wasn't even really looking for it, but it was suggested to me. And I was like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense. This is mind-blowing. So now that I have just Carestack, I don't got to deal with a server. I don't have to deal with one program updating, and that completely throws off my connection of all of my other programs. And then I got to call my IT guy, have him come up, spend hours on the phone with support with all the different companies that I've subscribed to. I mean, just all of that mess and complication is just completely gone. And then there's just even more like the analytics. I never really had an analytics software before, but now that that's built into Carestack, I couldn't imagine not having that. How would you even succeed in a world like we are in today without that competitive edge, like you talked about, Maria? So I'm more productive, and I have yet to call my IT guy to come fix a computer issue. And I have been on Carestack for almost 2 full years now. So 2 full years without having to call your IT guy, compared to he probably came out to my office every other month for years prior to that. Huge, huge difference. So there we have it. One-stop shop and super innovative.
I think what I would like to add to that was great, Alicia, because you are a client user. What I would like to add to that too, Bill, is that we're an agile company. So case in point, COVID happened and they quickly started, the scrambling, like what can we do to make the user interface better for our clients as well as for the patients. So not only did you have curbside check-in, but you had the text to pay because it was touchless payments. So they really listened, and they've taken our engineers, and we really look at it from the good of the whole at a whole team level as to the results of it at the patient end, the patient experience end, if you will. So one of the things too that Carestack does that's, I think it's different, we have our clients have their choice, if you will, like a market going to market instead of like saying you're going to only use this merchant processor. You have a couple to choose from. If you want cloud-based imaging, you have a couple to choose from. So they're not relegated to just use one merchant processor or one imaging software. So we call it like a marketplace type of program, if you will. So those are the things too, I think, that separate us from the rest of the pack.
Yeah, really interesting. You have some options, which is great. I think I probably know the answer to this question, since the real question is, why Carestack now if somebody's using another platform, whether it's cloud-based or whether it's, legacy or something, like that. Why would somebody move to, again, just hearing the functionality? I mean, that to me would make a lot of sense.
Right.
You're not using it, have different subscriptions going on and things that plug in and update at different times. And sometimes they talk to each other and sometimes they don't. So I don't want to answer the question for you, but tell me a little bit about why somebody now would even, entertain possibly using Carestack.
Well, that's a loaded question. I mean, I don't know if Carestack is now. You may have some challenges with it. Basically, it is, it's about change. Do you have an appetite for change? I mean, Bill, if you switch from Apple to Android, which is what I have, how will you handle that change, right? So change management is what hits the pause button more times than what I'd like to see, especially more so now that I'm sitting on the other side of the spectrum. I mean, I've seen decisions made not to change software because their teams have been using the same software for many years. There is this fear that people will leave if they go through the conversion, let's say, or change it all entirely. I've watched groups going through the pain of having to download multiple reports because they're on different systems to get to a number that they can confidently sign off on their P&L. I've seen struggles in efficiencies and consistencies when it comes to a group's practice operating cycle. People tend to develop habits or workarounds, and they're all different workarounds and using their software now. People know that to grow, you need to innovate. So everything is going cloud-based. However, fear and having to change is what stops them to doing what's good for the business and what's good for the whole. I mean, change can be messy, but it doesn't have to be. I've been there and done that. And as I mentioned, again, the area of opportunity that I've experienced is that the dental software is not recognized as a business intelligence of a practice and organization. And once again, why Carestack now? Carestack can be for you now if you're willing to go through that change.
Yeah. Great point there. So here's the next question. The ideal client or the ideal practice or group of practices, give me an idea of what that looks like.
Well, Alicia's an ideal client.
Sounds like it.
All joking aside, our ideal clients are those that want to scale and want a dental software that have all the components and attributes that can scale with them. They're clients that they're experiencing third-party software fatigue. They're clients that want to innovate, become more efficient, and shed workflows that are antiquated. And most importantly, clients that want to work smarter than harder. I mean, Alicia, what are your thoughts on this, especially from a practice hero's perspective?
It's really just all of those things. So I'm the personality type where I don't want to stay stagnant. I love the mantra, work smarter, not harder. I love trying to find easier ways, more efficient ways to do something, and I love to grow. Sure, I was annoyed by some stuff my software did. Sure, I was really annoyed by having to keep calling my IT guy and having all my subscriptions not talking to each other all the time properly. But the main driver was I wanted to grow. I wanted to help my dentist, my doctor, grow as big as possible. He's not within a year of retiring, so he has time to be able to make that change, grow, become as successful as he can be before his retirement age does come.
Well, that it's interesting. So I would love to ask this question, and I'm sure that it's not one answer, but let's talk about challenges. So when somebody's converting over, right? So practice management software wise, and I guess there's a couple different conversions, right? You're using something else and you're going to convert over to Carestack, right? Or there might even be that integration where you're a DSO that might be using Carestack, and you're acquiring a practice that isn't using it. So, that's more the integration. Like, how do we convert that one practice? So let's talk a little bit about, that Maria, and what challenges you
Sure.
see.
Well, I've worked with a number of different practice management softwares and have gone through 5 software conversions, with a couple of them involving a large organization of 150 employees. That's not even including the doctors, okay? I think it's important to strategize pre-implementation with your teams and ask yourselves a question prior to that. If we were to do a do-over, if you were to ask yourself that question, then you can then drill it down to what processes and systems that are working for us and what isn't. Do we have a firm foundation? Do we have processes that are antiquated, or we need to kind of reconfigure it? Because whether you go through Carestack or not, I've seen this time and again, Bill, where people that don't have the firm foundation, or they think that it's just business as usual, and probably they're experiencing pain of AR issues, billing issues, scheduling issues, but they don't actually face it head on and come up with a strategy in getting them fixed, if you will, building that foundation, right? So coming on board into a conversion, whether it's Carestack or any other software, if you don't have a firm foundation, if you don't have a solid process and system in place, definitely that will be a challenge for you. I always talk about strategizing prior to that, asking ourselves the question, if we were to do a do-over, what should we be doing differently? And our team really helps you through this by doing a deep dive on your workflows. Basically, it's like an hour and a half. We just don't want to say, okay, here are the keys to the car and now you drive, but we want to know how you want to drive that car. Alicia, you've gone through it yourself. What has your experience been and challenges coming from a legacy software to Carestack?
To be honest, I didn't run into a lot of challenges. And I think the reason why was I was so eager to change, and I was very proactive. And the implementation team at Carestack helped me become even more proactive throughout the entire transition period. So it's a pretty rigorous migration process where you're meeting with your implementation team on a weekly, sometimes more than once a week basis, because you want to figure out, these are the features I want to use. These are the features I don't want to use. This is the customization I want in my notes or in my scheduling or, in any of your workflows. So as long as you're proactive about that and eager to jump in, I had no challenges when it came to that. I always do get asked though, did I have challenges with bringing my team along with me? Because
I was going to ask you that question because
that's where the biggest challenge usually is. Because, like Bill said, people have been using their software forever, and how you said, they don't really want to change. I personally was on that legacy software before for 10 years and, or just shy of 10 years. And all of my employees, that's the only software they knew. So they were a little bit hesitant to change, but the key things of what I did was I kept it very positive. I kept it very engaging, and I kept hyping them up. So knowing what I knew about Carestack and knowing what I knew about the legacy software, I would constantly be comparing them during this whole migration process and say, and implementation process, and tell everybody, oh my gosh, this is so cool that this Carestack can do this feature. Think of how much time that's going to save us. Think of how many mistakes we're not going to make. And then I would also compare them and say, oh, their scheduling is literally exactly, how you make an appointment in the legacy software. So there's really not a huge difference in terms of how it's used. There's just a difference in terms of the depth that Carestack has. So I was just constantly hyping them up, constantly getting them excited. And the most important thing, Carestack has a section called Carestack University, and it has modules, it has videos, it has quizzes, it has questions, it has little scripts you can read, and you can assign certain employees to do certain modules that applies to whatever their job description is. And I made sure that they got those training modules done before we actually went live with Carestack. And that was key. So everyone was very familiar with the system, even though they hadn't really done more than just play in it and learn about it on the date that we went live. So the day we went live was actually very, very smooth. And yeah, because of being positive and proactive, I just really didn't run into any challenges, to be honest.
I think what's also important to bring up, and we talked about it earlier, it's about the change management, right, Alicia? And so I think that, through my experience, I've always talked about the why we're changing, because you need to get that buy-in from the rest of the team members. And what I've done as an operational leader is that I've taken the experts throughout my organization and I had them become that process, be part of that process. So, Carestack had clinical notes that you can basically customize. So we took a doctor leader who was, he was all up in that. I goes, oh, I just would love to do this. And so, that part of that task was he was doing that, and he had one-on-ones with the doctors so that, it's like they were heard as to what they want to see their chart notes to be. Same thing went with hygiene, same thing went with billing. I found a billing expert, I found a clinical dental assistant expert. I mean, other conversions I've gone through, I did the exact same type of, process, if you will. I mean, you come across people that are even like crying in the parking lot type of thing, but you can't just hide the fact that everything's gonna be rosy and peachy keen at the end of the day. There's a lot of heavy lifting in the front end. There's a lot of managing it, like Alicia was trying to hype it up and everything. And now we're always going back to the why and ensuring the fact that here's the buy-in, and then giving them the time to learn the software so that they can be successful day to day. At the end of the day, it's your team that's in it, right? Like, well, Alicia, you're a player coach, so that you're in it daily. As an operational leader, I had to make sure that my teams, managers and regionals, if you will, were comfortable. And the fact is that we were having to pivot a lot through these conversions. Carestack was there to, every step of the way. So, there are challenges in any type of dental software conversion. Once again, if you don't have any firm foundations in place, ask yourself the question, what could we be doing better? What are the areas of opportunities? If we had to do a do-over, what should we be doing different? Are our workflows antiquated? Those are things like you've got a fresh start. So let's make it better this time. And then, of course, once again, really facing that change management, not brushing it aside. There are emotions that are at hand. You have to be able to be empathetic and to listen and hear them out, and then taking the time to coach them through it. So, there hasn't been a successful conversion, if you will. I think it's successful after several months and everybody's flying through using any type of software, including Carestack. So
some great insights, Alicia and Maria. So Maria, Director of the Practice Heroes program. So let's talk a little bit about the Practice Hero role.
Sure. Well, this is definitely different than any other type of dental software out there. I can say that. What we're doing in Carestack is taking all the experts in this space, experts from the practice, revenue cycle and billing experts, admin and clinical experts in leadership and transition people that have the aptitude, and find a way to bring them in as a part-time independent contractor as a practice hero, which is like Alicia. And, one of the things that our job, and it could be a funny thing, if you will, but our job is not to get people to say yes to Carestack, actually. It's to make a sound decision if Carestack is a fit or not for you. And so this is what makes up my team of practice heroes. For example, my first hire is Alicia Gerard. She's a practice manager out of Utah. They converted from legacy software to Carestack. She really knows the billing process. I mean, she is like the wizard, if you will. So we went to the owner of the practice, Dr. Lawrence Palmer, and we said we want to bring Alicia in only as a part-time independent contractor. I didn't want him to think that we were stealing her away. That's not good for the relationship. It's important to get the buy-in from the owner. So we piloted the program in February, March, and really expanded it from there. It's not just from single shingle dentists, but we're now also helping groups. So it's not about Carestack. Practice Heroes is a resource that's different from any other company in the dental software space, where we have experts that have everything to do with running a practice, running the business, and that people can have access to. Just recently, we've developed programs that consist of webinars and Facebook Live events. These programs are not about Carestack. It's for clients or prospective clients. One of the programs is a series called From the Ground Up, where our target audience are startups and de novos, and we bring in subject matter experts in the industry to cover topics from navigating and negotiating insurance companies with Chad Hendricks, search engine optimization. This was a really good one. A cautionary tale with deploy marketing. You know, again, it's not about Carestack. We don't even review the software during these series. It's all about being a resource for clients and prospective clients. And also during our demos with our clients, we also are like translating, if you will, because all of us have sat in the seats in the trenches, if you will, in the practices. So we were able to take what their challenges are, the pain that they're going through, and letting them know that, okay, I see what you're going through. You can actually do it this way in Carestack. Let's show you. So those are the things that we do. We marry the two. Alicia, you were my first practice hero. Why did you want to join the program?
So my biggest passion in life is helping people. I want to help patients, colleagues, professionals, networking contacts, friends, family, everybody. I love to help people. And the Practice Heroes program is all about helping people. We're helping future clients decide if Carestack is the way for them to go, and making sure they really understand what Carestack is so they can make that sound decision. We're helping current Carestack clients to see if they can do a workflow better, you know, create more efficient workflows, get an expert eye on, you know, a certain area, whether it's billing or scheduling or, you know, any of those fields. And we also, because of the new series that we just launched called Dinner with Practice Heroes, we're giving our knowledge. We're helping anybody, doesn't matter what software they're on, with real life issues and how to navigate those, and best practices and takeaways, and you know what you should be doing on a day-to-day or a week-to-week or a month-to-month basis to make sure that your practice is flowing smooth in certain areas, whether it's billing or scheduling or looking forward to the next quarter. So that is why I joined, because I now have that opportunity to share and help even more than when I did as just a single dentist office manager.
I think you've also learned a lot as well.
Oh, hugely. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I've been able to learn a lot, bring it into my own practice, and just make us even more successful.
Yes. So in a nutshell, you know, we share real world knowledge, pearls of wisdom. We share actual items that they can take and implement in the practice the next day.
Yeah, well, I like a couple of points there. You talked a little bit about, it's not just about Carestack, right? You know, this is sharing. So it's not just about Carestack. It's talking about what makes practices better. You know, Alicia, you know, what you found in your practice, what can make things better in your practice, carry that over to some of these other practices. And then Marie, you touched on at the same time, I think there's an evaluation. Is Carestack even a fit for you? Might not be, but you know, this is kind of you can kind of figure that out. So really interesting. So as we kind of wind this podcast down, can I have this last question here, because it's important, and Alicia touched on it really early on in the podcast. She mentioned, well, hey, you know, the DSOs are growing, right? This is the future. You know, single practices, solos will still exist, but there's this growth in the group practice, the DSO space. So let's talk a little bit about what you feel, Maria, Carestack's role is in this emerging group space and the DSO space, as well as the industry kind of transitions that way.
Sure, Bill. Well, you know, there are 3 constituencies in the dental industry. 1 is the patient, 2 is the practice, and 3 is the payers. Carestack sees ourselves reducing the friction between payers and the practice. I mean, we want the payers to pay providers quicker, much faster, like having the ability to adjudicate chairside. So if you're thinking about this, we're uniquely positioned to address the biggest challenges in dentistry, and through a unified cloud-based platform that is intelligent, connected, and data-driven solutions, we will serve the dynamic needs of the practices, patients, and payers. So once again, that's something that we're really looking into and honing in, is basically reducing the friction between payers and the practice and getting these providers paid much quicker, organizations paid much quicker.
That's great. Well, good. Alicia, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think Maria covered it. She did a great job.
That sounds great. Well, I appreciate all the insights today. I mean, I think with this, we'll end the podcast, but we'll make sure that both Maria and Alicia, your contact information is in the show notes. And if you want to have a demo of Carestack, of course, we can link that up as well. But really appreciate Maria Fuertes from Carestack and Alicia Gerard for joining us today. Really informative. And appreciate everybody, listening in or viewing this. Always fun. I learned so much from every one of these podcasts we do. So until next time, this is the Group Dentistry Now show, and I'm Bill Neumann. Thanks for listening and watching.
The Group Dentistry Now show has listeners across North and South America, Europe, Asia, and Australia. If you like our show, subscribe today, and please tell your colleagues about us.